Hey everyone, I hope you're doing super well. Today we're going to do some random plant chores, so get ready because we are about to get started. So first things first, we are going to take some of my plants and give them some new moss climbing poles. And in particular, we're going to be talking about my silverleaf philodendron, which is right here, the Philodendron brandtianum, which is absolutely beautiful. I have had this plant for over a year, and when I initially had my first Philodendron brandtianum, I did not know how to care for it, and so I think I over cared for it, which led to it dying. And so this one I've had for over a year, and it started off probably about yay high, maybe 6 inches, and now it just keeps on growing and growing and growing. And this plant in particular is beautiful because not only does it have those silver splashes in its foliage that you can see so beautifully and vibrantly, but this plant can be used in many different aspects. For instance, you can have it as a trailing hanging plant, but at the same time, you will find that this plant does so much better if it is climbing up a pole because it is a plant that is a climber, a philodendron that is a climber like a lot of other philodendron. And the larger it starts to climb, the further it starts to climb, the better and bigger its leaves come out. And as we can see, it started off with some big leaves, then they got smaller and then larger and larger and larger. But as you can see, I have run out of space with this pole, so that's why we are going to give it a new pole, one that I ordered off of Amazon. I don't know how large this one is, but it's probably maybe another foot and a half larger than its current one. So what I use is just kind of like some plant tape, which is, where did I put it? This little Velcro tape here. This will kind of just hold it up against the moss pole or whatever you have it climbing up against. And the nice thing about these moss poles is that if you soak them every so often, I usually like to soak them when I'm watering the plant. The plant will indeed, off of the sides of where these nodes are right here, they'll grow aerial roots and they'll attach the side of the moss pole, which is why it gets so much stronger and the plant just gets so much larger. I did have some of this little, I think these are like little twisty ties, green twisty ties around it. Now, mind you, I haven't had this moss pole in here for too long. I had a shorter one until the plant just got too large, so it didn't have a chance to really latch onto it yet. So that's a good thing because that'll allow for this new moss pole and for it to take its place. Let's see here. I'm going to try to untie this plant. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Philodendron brandtianum, the silverleaf philodendron, as it is kindly nicknamed based off of its beauty, this plant is really actually simple to care for. It's embarrassing that I killed my first one off. Oh, it looks like this part came off, which I guess I could just turn into a nice cutting, which will be beautiful because I actually needed a plant to put into a propagation jar. We're just going to cut off this leaf that's struggling here. So this plant it really enjoys medium to bright indirect light, but more so on like the medium side. That's why I have it over here in this corner, where, I mean, you have a grow light right up there, but at the same time, it's not getting the direct light that would come in from like my western windows. So that is the good news there. But I also have a little humidifier next to it because this plant, like most tropical plants, absolutely thrives and loves humidity. So it gets the best of both worlds over there. It's medium light and it's humidity. So I took that pole out and now I'm going to place this one in the same spot. What I'm probably going to need to do, I think, is probably put some more soil around it because it's going to have a tough time standing up. Let me go and grab some soil and some clippers so I can also cut down this part right here. Be right back. And just like that, I'm back with my clippers here and some soil for our soil needs. So let's first try to cut down this, because this doesn't need that last part to be as long. There we go. It was made of metal, so I wasn't sure how well that would, or how easily it would cut. And we're going to place this back in there. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to put some nice soil around the sides, which this is a chunky aeroid mix, which I've explained many a times to you guys. Why philodendron love this, because it's got things like cocoa coir in it, and orchid bark, and lots of perlite. A lot of breathable space there for the plant, which is what we want. Okay, so now that we have it in there, I'm going to move this off to the side. Don't need you right now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just cutting out of the way, and then I'm going to just start kind of, I don't know if I want it to go up or around. Yeah, we'll try the up and around approach. Let's do that. How's that sound? Good. Good, Kevin. I'm glad that we can agree on something. Talking to myself here again, but that's what I do. If you guys have watched these videos, you know that all too well. I'll use this little piece of twist tie over here to just kind of hold this in place for the time being. And I pre-soaked this moss pole, so I didn't have to do that after watering it, but I do need to give this a good watering as soon as we have everything in place. Okay, we'll go with this one next, and we'll do it around the same side, because I don't want, I've been meaning to look into this, like whether or not if you overlap any stems or vines, and if that will like suffocate or cause any damage to the other ones below it, especially if the plant puts out aerial roots. That's one thing I do not want to have happen, is to harm this plant in any shape or form. I'll use that just to hold it in. Yeah, these are really beautiful plants, and the nice thing is that, like I was saying, if you have humidity next to them, you don't have to constantly worry about whether or not you're watering them. Like, I honestly haven't watered this plant, and I think, gosh, it's probably been close to 2 weeks now, which is shame on me, but at the same time, I'm grateful for its strength and the fact that it hasn't really caused me any issues. There we go. Though I should be a better plant dad and take better care of it, which I will do. I promise. Says the guy who literally killed off his first version of this plant. We have some of this tape here. Gonna use this. This is our tree for, and cut around there. That should be long enough. And that way, this can hold all 3 of these stems together. Oh no, it wasn't long enough. Good thing I had that one little random piece there. You can just connect that. That's what's nice about this Velcro plant tape here. So we got that. We got this. We attach it side by side, and there we go. Yay. Okay, now we have one more little part to tape together, but we'll use that to obviously also connect and hold in the rest of them. If I can find out, oh, there it is. This is what the problem is with me, guys, when I am doing these videos, how little I actually am paying attention to where I place things. I know I'm a mess. It's okay though. Most plant parents are messes, so you guys will understand and hopefully be, sympathetic, please. I don't think sympathetic was the right word there, but you know what? We'll go with it. Why not? Okay, we're gonna get this over here and hold in tight, and there we go. Yay! Lovely. Just absolutely divine there. Okay, we've got that in there. So do we have them all? Yeah, and that looks nice and big and bushy on that side. Push that guy up there. Take off some of these little leaves that weren't doing so well. And boom, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Look at that. We now have a new pole where it can continue to climb and become a stronger plant and a larger plant, because that's all I really want for my plants, is for them to be happy and healthy. You know? Okay, so I'm going to do one more piece, I think, just to be safe and secure. And that one we shall hide behind these leaves, just to kind of, the thing I love about plants is the aesthetic value that they offer to your home, but I also don't want this plant tape too noticeable. I know there's very little I can do with certain portions of it, but this will be just fine, I believe. There we go. And we have it down. Oh, I'm so excited now. Okay, so now that we have this extra pole here, it's going to come to great use, because I also have my Philodendron felix, which is a newer philodendron. This is a hybrid species, and I have shown you guys this before. I absolutely love this plant. Its leaves are so stunning when they come out, this bronzy, reddish, maroon color, but it's just like, look at those leaves. I mean, they are rigid, and I've had this plant since November. I actually got it at a Equigenera plant show that was held here in Denver. And I recently repotted it because it needed more space to grow. As you can see, it's got a new growth point that's coming out there. It's not as fast as a grower as I thought it was or would be. I would say a new leaf. Granted, I also need to keep in mind the fact that we were in the non-growing season, like fall and winter, when I got it. But I've had, I believe, 2 or 3 new leaves come out since. This one right here being the more recent one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to water this guy. I'm going to clean off this pole, because when you are transferring stuff that was with another plant, you want to make sure that, just in case there was any like bacteria or any disease that this plant may have been carrying, that it doesn't, rub off onto the other plant. So we're going to give our Philodendron brandtianum here a good watering. And at the same time, I'm going to clean this off using some isopropyl alcohol, as well as some just hot water, and we should be good to go. So I will be right back again. All right, so I'm back now. I have watered the Philodendron brandtianum, and now our focus is on the Philodendron felix, which I was telling you is kind of a newer, popular philodendron on the market. Hard to find, really, and I got it at that Equigenera show here in Denver I was telling you about. This plant is native to South America, and of course loves conditions that are similar to what you'd find in South America. It likes bright indirect light like most philodendron. It likes an airy, chunky soil mix, which it has, and I've gone over that just like in the last video or in the last plant. And then it also likes to have its soil moist. It doesn't really tolerate as much as others do in terms of like letting it dry out when it comes to philodendron. So now that I have cleaned off this moss pole, I'm now going to plop it in there into its soil without disturbing any of its roots, hopefully. Trying to carefully make my way around there. There we go. All right, welcome to my kitchen, and my apologies in advance. It's a little bit messy here, but that's what happens when it's plant watering day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on my king Anthurium, my Anthurium veitchii, and I have been giving this thing more water because we're in now like the warmer months, and we need to make sure that our plants are taken care of and get the watering they need. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to add in some systemic granules, and these are pest control type of pellets. Basically, you sprinkle a little bit in, and then you go about and you water your plant. Now, why I'm using this is because I like to take preventative measures when it comes to plant pests, because you never know when spider mites or aphids or mealybugs might appear. And what this does is that once it's watered and settled into the soil, it pretty much makes the soil and the plant toxic to these kind of pests. So it's a good little tool to have. This is the water I'm using. It is filtered water, but you'll notice that it has kind of like a browner tint to it. And that's because I like to put in a little bit of fish fertilizer into my water, because fish fertilizer is something that plants absolutely thrive off of. They love fish fertilizer, and so I want to feed them. I only put like a little drop in there, and then I mix it in together. And Anthurium, like this Anthurium veitchii, the king Anthurium, they love to be fed. They love it just as much as alocasia do. So I make sure that I am watering and feeding them at the same time. So every time this plant gets watered, I am also feeding it because it needs its nutrition. And I want to make sure that all the water gets out of there and doesn't get clogged up, because then, of course, that leads to root rot, which, as we know, is the #1 cause of death for plants. This was the latest leaf that popped out, and as you can tell, it does not look great. A buddy of mine, Pedro, who works over at a place called Reroot, which is one of the rare plant shops here in Denver, was saying that oftentimes Anthurium leaves will come out deformed like that when it's dealing with an issue like a lack of humidity. So I made sure to move this into a spot that is getting plenty of humidity, because Anthurium in particular love their humidity. So now that I've shaken that out a little bit, I'm going to take its saucer plate. I'm going to put it right here while we move on to our next plant, which is just a simple little Peperomia Hope. I've had this one for probably about a year now, and this is probably as long as it'll grow. Peperomia are really beautiful plants, easy to care for, especially this one in particular. But I'm just going to give it a good old little soil water in there and make sure that water comes out of the bottom, so I know that it got appropriate watering. And I'm just going to use some of this because, you know what, we're almost inching closer to June now here in 2023, and it is time to start feeding our plants more. And so what I'll do is I'll let that one sit off to the side, and then I'm going to water my ZZ plant. This one, of course, is not like your typical ZZ plant, which I do have one right over here. You can see this one is green foliage. That's the ZZ plants that we're so used to. But this one right here is a darker colored species. This is a dark form of the ZZ plant. And yeah, it's a very easy plant to care for because like others, ZZ plants, it really doesn't need a ton of watering. My understanding, I believe, is that this plant grows natively in Africa. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but yeah, it lives in an area that is pretty drought tolerant. So of course it would like to be watered, but more often. But at the same time, it's not like the plant's going to start losing its luster or look awful because I forget to water it. And past that, I just watered one of my Hoyas, which has 3 blooms on it, which this is the first time this Hoya in particular would have bloomed, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it. That is my plant chores for today, at least the ones that I'm going to take some time out to record. But I just wanted to thank you folks so much for watching and tuning into my videos. As always, you guys are awesome. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, like it, and also subscribe to my channel for more planty content. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.